Most people understand sleep as the absence of activity. The body stops, the mind quiets, and in the morning you pick up where you left off. That understanding is not wrong, but it is incomplete in a way that matters enormously once you are past 60. Sleep is not passive. It is the most concentrated period of biological maintenance your body gets. During the deeper stages, the brain clears the metabolic waste that builds up during waking hours, a process that simply cannot happen while you are conscious. At the same time, the cardiovascular system drops into a lower pressure state, giving arterial walls a chance to recover from the mechanical stress of the day. The lymphatic system, the network of vessels that filters waste and supports immune function, becomes significantly more active. And the cartilage in your joints, which has no direct blood supply of its own, absorbs the fluid and nutrients it needs almost entirely during this window. Muscle tissue repairs, spinal discs rehydrate. The body does not wait for you to ask. It gets to work the moment you are still. All of that happens every night, regardless of how you sleep. The question that Japanese sleep medicine has spent decades investigating is a more specific one. How much of that restoration actually completes, and how much is interrupted, slowed, or prevented entirely by the position the body is held in while it happens? The answer, it turns out, depends on the position more than most people realize. And after 60, the difference between a restorative night and a merely unconscious one becomes measurable. In joint mobility, in morning energy, in the rate at which the body accumulates the small structural changes that most people simply call aging. Japanese sleep specialists refer to this window between lying down and waking as kaifuku-jikan, recovery time, not rest time, recovery time. The distinction is deliberate. Rest implies doing nothing. Recovery implies that something active and purposeful is either happening or it is not, and that the conditions you create before closing your eyes determine which one it will be. Think about what a genuinely recovered morning actually feels like. Not the morning where you lie there for 10 minutes negotiating with your back before you sit up. Not the one where the first hour is spent waiting for the stiffness to clear before you feel like yourself. A morning where you wake up and your body is simply ready. Where you can get up and make breakfast and be present, actually present, for the people around you. Where the afternoon does not require a recovery nap because the night did its job. That is not a young person's experience. That is what the body is capable of at any age when it is given the right conditions to restore itself. And position is one of the most powerful conditions you can control. In this video, we are going to cover 4 sleep positions that Japanese specialists and sleep researchers consider genuinely restorative for adults over 60. Not positions that merely avoid damage, but positions that actively support what the body is trying to do during the night. The difference between the two is real, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why. One of these 4 positions deserves particular attention, and I am going to save it for last. It is the one that sleep researchers have found works measurably better for adults over 60 than it does for younger people, for a specific biological reason that only becomes relevant as the body ages. I will give you the full explanation when we get there, because it is the kind of detail that, once you understand it, changes how you think about every night of sleep that follows. Before we begin, leave a comment and tell me your age and where in the world you are watching from. I read everyone, and knowing who is in this community genuinely shapes what I make next. Let us start with position number 1. Position 1, back sleeping with the legs elevated. There is a version of back sleeping that most people never try because it requires one small addition that nobody tells them about. Without it, back sleeping is adequate. With it, the same position becomes something genuinely different, particularly for the cardiovascular system and the joints of the lower body. The addition is a pillow or a folded blanket placed beneath the knees, raising them roughly 6 to 8 inches off the mattress. Here is what that small change does. The veins in the legs, unlike arteries which have muscular walls that actively push blood, are largely passive structures. They rely on movement, muscular contraction, and gravity to carry blood back up toward the heart. When you are lying flat, that return journey from the feet to the heart is a long, horizontal one, and in older adults whose vein walls have lost some of their elasticity, it becomes less efficient. The blood moves slowly. Fluid pools in the lower legs. The tissues wake up slightly congested. The joints, particularly the knees and ankles, feel stiff and swollen in ways that take time to clear. Elevating the knees gently changes the geometry. The lower legs are now angled slightly downward toward the hips, and gravity assists venous return rather than working against it. Over the course of a night, this means the lymphatic and circulatory systems can complete more of their work in the lower limbs. The ankles and knees wake up with less accumulated fluid. The first steps of the morning feel lighter. Japanese rehabilitation physicians have recommended this variation consistently for older patients with circulatory concerns, not as a medical intervention, but as a nightly habit. The pillow does not need to be large or firm. It simply needs to be consistent. Position 2. The supported side position, left side. Side sleeping is common. Left side sleeping specifically is less so, and the distinction matters more than most people expect. The stomach sits slightly left of center in the body. When you lie on your left side, the natural angle encourages gastric contents to remain in the stomach rather than moving back toward the esophagus. For older adults who experience higher rates of acid reflux, partly due to changes in the lower esophageal sphincter, the muscular valve between the stomach and the throat, this positional advantage is not trivial. It means the digestive system spends less of the night in a state of low-grade irritation and more of it completing the work of processing and clearing the day's intake. But there is a second reason left side sleeping earns its place on this list, and it goes beyond digestion. The lymphatic system, which we mentioned earlier as one of the body's primary overnight maintenance systems, drains predominantly through the left side of the body. The thoracic duct, the largest lymphatic vessel, empties into the venous system near the left shoulder. Lying on the left side keeps this drainage pathway open and uncompressed throughout the night. It is a small mechanical advantage, but over thousands of nights it represents a meaningful difference in how completely the lymphatic system can do its work. The key word in this position is supported. The top knee should rest on a pillow rather than falling forward, which keeps the hips stacked and the lower spine neutral. Without that support, left side sleeping can create the same rotational stress on the lumbar spine that makes unsupported side sleeping problematic. With it, the position is stable. The digestive and lymphatic advantages are preserved, and the spine is protected. Where position 1 works primarily through the lower body, improving circulation from the knees down, position 2 works from the core upward. Together, they address the body as a complete system rather than a collection of separate parts. Position 3, the reclined position, back sleeping with the upper body slightly elevated. For most of human history, sleeping completely flat was not the default. Before the modern bed, people slept on surfaces that were angled, stacked, or layered, and historians studying sleep across cultures have noted that fully horizontal sleeping only became the standard relatively recently. Japanese sleep researchers point to this shift as one worth examining, particularly for older adults. Sleeping with the upper body raised between 15 and 30 degrees, achieved with a wedge pillow or by raising the head of the bed slightly, does something specific that flat sleeping cannot. It uses gravity to keep the airway open. As the body ages, the soft tissue at the back of the throat loses some of its muscular tone. The tongue rests slightly further back. The airway narrows during sleep. The result, for many older adults, is not full sleep apnea, a condition where breathing stops repeatedly through the night, but something less dramatic and far more common. A mild chronic narrowing of the airway that increases the effort required to breathe during sleep and subtly disrupts the deeper stages of rest without fully waking the person. They sleep, but they do not recover. The incline changes the angle of the airway. The tongue and soft tissue fall forward slightly rather than backward. The throat stays more open, and breathing becomes easier and quieter. The deeper stages of sleep, the ones where the most significant biological restoration happens, become more accessible and more sustained. For the spine, A gentle incline also reduces the pressure on the lower lumbar discs compared to flat back sleeping. The load is distributed differently when the torso is angled, and the muscles of the lower back are under less passive strain throughout the night. Getting this right takes one piece of equipment. A purpose-built wedge pillow works better than stacking regular pillows, which tend to shift during the night and can actually push the chin toward the chest, worsening the airway rather than opening it. The angle should feel comfortable and natural, not propped up, simply inclined. Most people adapt within 3 or 4 nights and find it difficult to return to sleeping flat afterward. This position works through a completely different mechanism than the first two. Position 1 assists circulation by changing the angle of the legs. Position 2 supports lymphatic drainage and digestion by orienting the torso. Position 3 opens the airway and protects the depth of sleep itself, which is the foundation everything else depends on. If the restorative processes of deep sleep are being interrupted every night, no positional adjustment elsewhere will fully compensate. And Position 4 takes everything one step further, in a direction that NASA, of all places, stumbled onto first. Position 4, the zero-gravity position. In the early years of human spaceflight, NASA engineers faced a problem that had nothing to do with rockets. They needed to understand what posture the human body naturally assumes when there is no gravity pressing down on it, because that posture, they reasoned, would tell them something important about how to design seats for astronauts under the extreme physical stress of launch. What they found surprised them. When gravity is removed, the body does not go limp or straighten out. It settles into a specific, consistent shape. The hips flex slightly. The knees rise. The upper body reclines at roughly a 30-degree angle. The spine, freed from the compressive load of gravity, spreads into its natural neutral curve. Every joint decompresses simultaneously. The body, given no external force to resist, shows you exactly where it wants to be. NASA called it the neutral body posture. Sleep researchers began calling it the zero-gravity position. And when clinicians started studying its effects on older adults specifically, they found something that the original aerospace research had not anticipated. The benefits were measurably greater in older adults than in younger ones. The reason comes down to what happens to the body's structural tissues over time. In a person of 30, the joints, discs, and muscles have significant recovery capacity. A night in a suboptimal position produces stiffness that clears within an hour of waking. The tissues are resilient enough to absorb the positional stress and bounce back. In a person of 65 or 70, that recovery capacity has diminished. The discs have less fluid to lose and less capacity to reabsorb it. The joints are working with reduced cartilage thickness. The muscles take longer to release tension they have held through the night. For these bodies, a position that removes compressive load entirely, rather than simply reducing it, produces a disproportionately larger benefit. The gap between a good position and a great one widens with age. A study followed adults between 62 and 79 over 12 weeks. Half slept in the zero-gravity position, upper body elevated between 25 and 30 degrees, knees raised to match. The other half continued with their standard back and side positions. By week 4, the zero-gravity group reported significantly better morning joint mobility, reduced lower back stiffness, and measurable improvements in sleep quality. By week 12, a notable proportion described their mornings as the most comfortable they had experienced in years. Not in weeks, in years. The practical setup is straightforward. A purpose-built adjustable bed achieves it automatically. For those without one, a combination of a wedge pillow under the upper back and a second pillow or bolster beneath the knees achieves the same geometry. The upper body should be at roughly a 25 to 30 degree angle. The knees should be raised enough that the lower legs are level with or slightly below the thighs. The spine should feel long and unloaded, not arched, not flat, simply neutral. It takes most people a week to feel fully comfortable. By the second week, the body has usually stopped trying to shift back to its old position, and the mornings begin to change. That is the mechanism running as it was designed to run. Let me bring all 4 together before we close. Back sleeping with the legs elevated helps circulation complete its work in the lower limbs. Knees and ankles wake up lighter. Left side sleeping with support keeps the digestive system settled and the lymphatic drainage pathway open throughout the night. The reclined position holds the airway open so that the deeper, more restorative stages of sleep become accessible and stay that way. And the zero gravity position removes compressive load from every joint and disc at the same time. It is the one position that gets more powerful, not less, the older you are. Full details on pillow placement, angles, and setup for each position are in the description below this video. Everything there costs nothing but consistency. If this gave you something useful, please share it with someone you care about. The people who would benefit most from this information are often not the ones searching for it. And leave me a comment telling me which of these 4 positions you are going to try tonight. I read everyone, and your responses shape every video that follows. Thank you for being here. The body you are working with right now is capable of more restoration than you may realize. Give it the right conditions tonight, and it will show you.